I was thinking over the weekend that stupid little jingle from Instagram. Maybe if it's from somewhere else, but it's like "dumb ways to die," and I thought, what if I should? I wonder
So
how many
many
times.
dumb ways to die. Yeah.
I wonder how many times you've almost died. Um,
Just thinking
and
about you. You died?
yeah, just
Yeah.
thinking about you, and because I can count two obvious moments off the
Whoa.
top of my head,
Okay.
and then there's like a ton of like smaller ones, mostly driving like very late at night.
Yeah.
Um, Thought,
I
hey,
have,
that'd be a
yeah.
fun conversation, maybe, and I
I think
get
it's a
into it.
good, get our cross checks, right? I just forgot the whole phrase. Memento Mori. And
Okay.
keeping, loving this life, but keeping that in mind. And I think one just came to mind now. It is the reason why I don't like driving in the snow. It's because I was at work one day and it was snow's coming down and it's coming down and it actually ended up coming to be like not a blizzard, but something of like that effect during the workday. So a lot of people was like, "Oh, let's leave work early. Let's get home before the storm gets bad." I only lived 10 minutes away, but I was like, "Yeah, you know what? That sounds good. Like, let's just get home. Might as well leave now versus an hour when it's piled up." So I left, and it was in my first car. It was my 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee, red, favorite car, loved it. And I was like, a four-wheel drive car, mind you. So this thing should have no problem in snow or anything. But I was still relatively young and didn't really understand how things. So, anyways, driving down the roads, and it's 10-minute drive back home, and I'm kind of seeing the snow accumulate on the road, and I'm coming down. I'm in my neighborhood now. I'm in the neighborhood. All I have to do is go down a hill, up a hill, and then I'm right around the corner. So I made the whole way, and I was just looking down at this hill, and I saw a Peapod, like a Stop and Shop delivery truck in front of me, and I was driving slow, and I saw that they had like kind of gotten some momentum down the hill, and then made it all the way up. And in my mind, don't know why, I'm equating my four-wheel drive Jeep to a box truck and thinking I must also have to give it some gas, let this thing go so I have the momentum to carry it up. Not even thinking about four-wheel drive. I don't know why. Don't even. So, dumb ways to die. I almost, going down the hill, I was gaining speed, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I actually think I'm going a little too fast, even for like a hill that's not that big. So so this is where I guess now four-wheel drive is out the window. I tapped the brakes to like slow myself down. Instead of like slowly doing it, I did it a bit fast. Did it, started to slide, immediately started turning, and so my car went spun, and then I hit the passenger side onto a pole and wrapped around the pole. So
Really?
much so that the phone in my pocket actually bent around my leg. And when I fit it, the stereo was facing me. So, like, you're driving a car, your stereo's
My
perpendicular
gosh!
to you.
So it
So
wasn't just a
this
fender bender. Like,
no, the
whoa!
radio was then facing me. And I got out of the car and I was like, luckily like wasn't hurt, whatever. But I looked, and so dumb ways that if I had spun, one half more or one half less, that could have been the driver's side. And so I don't like driving in the snow, but it was and then I remember somebody that
What is it? Toyota Tacomas from here on out. It's like,
oh, I had all the equipment. That's why I was so
okay,
dumb. I was like, what am I doing? Why am I gunning it down an icy hill? And I remember the neighbor who saw me crash called the police. I went out, and the police officer came to me. We did the whole thing, got the car towed, all the, and then I remember I came back from work and I was wearing dress shoes. And I remember the police officer is walking up. He's like, I'll give you a ride back to your house. And I literally couldn't make it up the hill because my shoes were so flat and slick that I wasn't getting any traction. I just felt like such an idiot. Why did I crash into a pole? Why am I not making up this hill? Literally just walking in place. And then I finally get to his car and he goes, just so you know, I'm not going to write you up. I'm not going to give you a ticket. I'm like, I didn't even know that was on the cards. I didn't even know
I
it was an
lost
option.
my car.
He's like, yeah, I could have given you a ticket for reckless driving. I'm like, well, I didn't really like. And so I was like, just tail between my legs, got in the car, got back home, and Kelly, my wife, was like, "What happened?" I'm like, "That's a long story. Why are your shoes wet?" So that's the one that came to mind first when you mentioned that
Okay.
this morning. But how
Gosh,
about you?
man. Do you ever see that reel of the guy who gets in the car accident, and the car's flipping over, and it's all recorded on a dash cam, and right as
Yes.
it flips over, his jam comes on the radio,
It
and he
turns out.
turns. I'm just
Love
thinking your
it.
radio's right there. It's like,
It literally could have been like
"Get
right
on a
here.
prayer."
Just turn it up right here.
So
Yeah.
what actually brought up this thought over the weekend was, I re-downloaded Steam and pulled up Counter-Strike and haven't played it for like 2.5, almost
Mm.
3 months.
Oh, fun.
And, for over the last couple of months, I'd had some fond memories of the few friends that I started killing avidly every day, um, over
She
the
thought,
the
who's
game.
a friend I
Yeah.
haven't killed?
Somebody I haven't killed. Um, Google, don't listen to this. Anyhow, um, and I got back on, I started playing a couple of rounds, and one guy instantly DM'd me through the friends and, chat, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, dude, are you still alive? I thought you died," because I didn't tell anybody anything. I didn't think I owed
You just
anybody an
bounced, yeah.
explanation. Yeah, I just
It's my life.
bounced. He said, "I thought you died." And I'm like, "Wait a second. Somebody actually cares? I spent my whole time
Oh,
trying to kill you, and you actually care." It's like, man, it's a true friend,
yeah. I miss you killing me.
And so I just said, "No, I just had to, hunker down for 3 months and try to create a side business, entrepreneur thing." And say, "Oh man, respect, I respect the hustle and stuff like that." It's like, I didn't want another one of my friends to like go out in a car accident or something. It's like, dude, are you okay?
Another one? Another one?
Okay.
Do we need to talk?
Yeah.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Let's just play.
Yeah, let me try to let's just kill each other. It's how men deal with, therapy. Let's just
Yeah,
try to kill
yeah.
each other.
Just beat each other up.
Yeah, it's faster. One of the first things I can think of as a kid. So I genuinely don't know how my parents let us get away with almost everything that we did as kids. Um,
Just survival.
yeah, we were like feral and they were just trying to survive. Um, so we've talked in the past about like we would run across the roofs, we would climb up in the
Mm-hmm.
trees. My dad always
Yeah.
built us tree houses wherever we went. So therefore we always built tree houses wherever we went, but he got too old and proper to build them anymore. And I remember one point I think he took me with him on he was giving a talk somewhere, and it was at a parish, I think after mass on a Sunday or something. And so a couple of other kids were hanging around, and so we all just went out to the parking lot, and there were tires filled with concrete and a metal pole sticking out the middle, and it was used as a thing to sort of break up the parking lot so cars could park. And I had the very bright idea of like, let's take this thing, let's push it down on its side. This thing is heavy and it's
Yeah.
hard to hold down. And let's just walk in a circle because I've seen this movie. Samson pushes this thing in a circle to grind the wheel and he goes, "Oh God of my fathers, liberate me from this," whatever. And he's blind, right? And then he's going to have this awesome moment where he pushes aside the cardboard boxes, which is what
Yeah.
I did in the living room all the time. Stack up cardboard boxes. "Mm,
It
look at
pushed
my
him
arm hair,
apart.
Dad. You know, and there were a couple of other kids as well. "Oh, I want to try. I want to try." Okay, so I let them go and have it. And I was just trying to pass it over to this one little girl. She couldn't have held it. She let that thing go and it whipped up across my face,
Oh
whacked into my eye. I don't know how I still have an eye. This is going to be a recurring thing
my
throughout
God.
my
It's
life
always
for
your
my
eyes. Yeah.
eyes.
Always
We
in
talked about
jeopardy. Yeah. The
the
dart.
dart last time.
Yeah, your eyes are always in jeopardy. Your
Yeah,
nose.
I spent most of my childhood with raccoon eyes, with black eyes. Like, you see most of my photos from that time period, like, I'm always healing from a black eye. It's a standing joke for my family. Well, it's because I got out and did stuff as opposed to you
Yeah.
looking at your iPad all the time. Um, and I just remember sort of, I don't know, grabbing something and crying and running in. He had to stop his talk and
Gosh. Yeah, give you a
take us home
concussed.
or something. I don't know what. Maybe that explains things.
That explains a lot. Now we're getting
I
into
thought
it.
so. Now we're getting into it. All right. So there's one. Do you have another one?
Yeah, well, I have like a less funny one that of me almost drowning, but that when I was an
Yeesh.
infant. Well, I was yeah,
Okay.
would it be a Debbie Downer?
Wet blanket about near death
No,
experiences. Why don't you?
I do remember I was climbing up a tree. I used to climb I like to climb trees and I would climb them as high as I can go. Like, when it gets even like thin and spindly, like just get as
Mhm.
high as you possibly can.
Totally.
I remember I was in the tree in my backyard and went up as high as I could. and I was hanging from, it was like off of one of the tall ones. It was an offshoot branch. So I was like, I'm just going to hang from it, like, perpendicular or parallel to the ground. So my back's facing the ground.
Like what,
Like,
40 feet off the ground or
yeah,
something?
like feel like a monkey or whatever. I was probably, like 20 to 30 feet, but at least that's what my memory shows. And I remember the branch just snapping and me falling with it, and my back hitting the ground. The oddest thing is, though, I don't remember. Yeah, probably just lost all that memory entirely, but I don't remember it like hurting. I remember just like landing and being like, "What was that?" And like, so that was, I don't know. That was it not a close to death, but it was like a weird moment where I fell hurt, but I didn't get hurt. It was just an odd thing.
Could have gone so much worse kind of
It
thing.
could have, like, well, I
Yeah.
landed straight in my back, like, flat like a pancake. But other than that, I was thinking of I don't know if I said this on the show or not, but for Christmas for my birthday, my dad or my parents got me a bike. And one of the bikes from like Kmart or something, you assembled them. They didn't buy it all together. So we assembled it the night before. And I took it out on a bike ride with a bunch of my friends from cross country. We are gonna go for a bike ride, through the woods and or whatever. And we went on our main road and then off onto like a dirt road. And the dirt road, me and hills. I think there's a theme of hills. Stay away from them. So I was gonna go. It's a dirt road hill going down, and as we're going down, everybody's kind of zipping down, zip, 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 and I'm going down, and I'm like, okay, put a little brake on. Right, we're going a little fast. I went to go put the brake on, like, press on the handle brake. And as I'm pressing it, the brake cable just snaps. I'm like, oh shoot. So now I'm just ripping down and there's no handbrake, no foot brake. And I'm like, okay, let me just try and like turn a little. I go to turn, the handlebars come off. It's
What? What kind of bike are you riding?
a bike assembled by my father.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm careening down this hill with no handlebars, no brakes. And I was like, I remember going towards something. I'm like, I just closed my eyes. I'm like, I think I do. I'm just going to close my eyes. All I remember is I hit a rock, flipped over the handlebars, and then landed onto something. And then I blacked out because I don't remember the flip, but I woke up on the ground all covered in mud and stuff. And my bike was all over there. And I remember then I blacked out again because I don't really remember much. And then I remember my dad coming to pick me up. But like, so again, that wasn't really my fault. I was it was a janky issued,
Okay.
bike, but yeah,
Sheesh.
I do remember that.
Man.
And then I looked on, it was like memories on Facebook. I looked like 11 years ago, 12, 13, no, 16 years ago, or 15. It says, hey, just got into a bike accident, all okay. And then someone commented, hey, is everything okay? What happened? I said, I just need to do some tweaking to the bike. Like, you're just completely living out that, like, the brake cable snapped, the handlebars came off. Just needs a couple rub and buff.
It's just, that's like such a I don't know, Little Rascals kind of
Yeah, I know.
slapstick thing.
It was like the whole thing is like comedic where like everything just started falling apart. It's like that's
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
cartoon.
Yeah.
But
Did you
yeah.
ever grow up watching Laurel and Hardy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I
that
think
and
of.
Jerry Lewis, those were our
Yep.
jams as kids. Man, we loved
Yeah.
those. Gosh, blacking out is weird. There's only one time that I remember it happening because I was a little more aware in the moment, and I was doing the thing with the box cutter that you're never supposed to do, which is cut towards yourself, and it skipped off of the
Gosh.
tape and it went straight into my wrist right here. And I remember
Oh.
in that instant, my whole
If you're
being
standing
go,
now, take a seat,
"Oh
listener.
crap, this is bad." And then I just remember the next moment where I'm like, I'm waking up now. I didn't know that I was asleep. Huh, this is interesting. And then all of a
Why
sudden
is my eye? Why do I have a black eye?
yeah, it's like I didn't know I was in bed. Like, man, I wonder what happened to the rest of the day. And then I'm like, snap back into it, and I'm still kneeling on the floor, and I'm looking down. It's just, you know, blood welling up and stuff. One of those things could have been worse. It's like, oh, so
Yeah.
that's what fainting feels like. Honey, I need some assistance. So, okay, the second time that was like very okay, maybe it wouldn't have been a near death thing, but it was certainly a very near danger kind of thing.
Yeah.
We were visiting friends up in Syracuse, New York, or something, and we were fencing. And I was
Fencing,
like,
you
yeah,
said? Yeah.
fencing with like
Yep. Yep.
rapiers or no, foil. I think it's called foil.
Epee? Oh.
No, 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 not the epee. Just the bendy little swords, right?
Yeah.
And we'd grown up watching, the every version of Robin Hood that there is, basically,
Yeah.
except for Men in Tights. We weren't allowed to see that one for I don't know because he makes
Too
a
raw.
joke. It's I
Yeah.
don't know. It's too funny. It's a
It's
serious story or something. I don't know.
crude.
But you can watch the Disney one with the fox.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Much more,
Yeah.
respectful.
And I refused to put on the mask because I
Not a
don't know,
child.
wimps wear masks
Yeah.
or something. And then the guy, and so we were parrying and lunging and sucking badly and whatever. And then he lunged and it went
The eye.
right into the eye. And then I literally wore like a pirate eye patch for the next like 2 weeks, which apparently was the worst thing I could have done. In the darkness and the moisture, could have gotten an infection because I didn't go to the doctor or anything.
Who decided to put the patch on?
I did, or I don't know. It was so painful I couldn't look at light, and
Oh, so you're
so
like, let me just cover it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I wore an eye patch and tried putting that on Facebook, and everyone was like, "Oh," and it was like, "Yeah, I got some, street cred
You
out
need
of
some
it."
sympathy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you have
sympathy
any? Do you
points.
wear glasses?
I'm supposed to. They're the
I would
prescriptions
say
out.
so.
They always, they're yeah. I have to leave them in the car because the
Yeah.
prescription's out. If I wear them too long, I get headaches. Trying to save up to go, trying to save up to be able to go get my prescription updated.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why that tickled me so much. Just the fact that you need glasses, obviously, because of all your eye injuries.
Everything. So yeah, there
Surprised you
you
can
go.
still see. Well,
I
that's
know,
good. I
no
mean,
kidding. I've got so anyhow. Do you got
oh
another one?
gosh. Do I have another death story? No, I have a stupid story. Again, it wasn't near death, but I was landscaping. I just got married. This is after Australia came back and had I was landscaping for his company, and they had said, you know, a lot of the guys don't wear, rings, and I thought like, oh, they're just this is me as like, married 19 years old, like, you know, I got to be the strong Catholic man. I love my wife, and I don't know. I stand up for a chivalry, and I was like, I want to wear my ring because I love my wife, and like these guys like we don't wear rings. I'm like, they're probably, I just all judgmental, like, and then not like why don't they wear a ring? Like I'm gonna wear my ring because I love my wife. And sure enough, I found out why they don't wear rings. I mean, again, I don't know, judging their stories, but like this is one of the reasons they don't wear rings. So I was, they have these big, like industrial, like suckers, like they're big hoses that suck up all like you bring all the leaves and sticks into a pile and it sucks it up into, and like with great force.
Okay.
And I was feeding in leaves and twigs and branches, and I was feeding this one twig in, and it latched onto the back of my ring and yanked my hand. Oh, not over my whole set. It yanked my hand so quickly into the machine, not to the grinding part, just the sucker part, and it pulled some skin up with it. And then I thought to myself, when I faint, I was like, I was like feeling faint. I was like, "What, Gabe? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Sorry, I'm getting there." And that's why, because it almost like ripped off my finger
Did anybody
skin.
notice, or did you just
No,
quietly
I
learn the
just,
lesson
yeah,
and shut up?
oh yeah. Don't say anything to a bunch of chain smoking guys. Like I'm gonna rip to shreds. Um, that was yeah, one guy. So another one of that story. I started that job. My first day in the job. This is I introduced myself differently from this day on. A bunch of, think of like your stereotypical like landscaper guys, just like chain smoking, brutal, rough. And I said
I'm
to
gonna come in and
everybody,
make your yard look pretty, ma'am.
I said, "Hi, I'm Gabe." And one guy goes, "You're gay? We don't care if you're gay, just do the work." I was like, oh shoot.
Well, it is 2025 after 2020, I suppose.
One guy goes, "We don't care who you like, just shovel." I'm like, okay, all right. They were very open minded, very progressive, but
They're saying the job. Oh
literally
my
first
gosh. So
day.
what was the new name you picked?
No, I just say my name is Gabe instead. I just throw that phrasing because then whenever I said that I'm Gabe, it's like you're gay. Like, oh well, whatever. It was
Of
just funny.
course they're gonna run that into the ground.
Oh, and if yeah,
That's funny.
it died off pretty quick, but it was like that was literally day one. I'm like, I'm gonna love it here. And I remember sitting between two guys just chain smoking in a car with the windows just cracked because it was like April, so it was like still a little bit cold out. I'm just like spitting.
Fog on the inside. So I've got ones almost like that. I was serving, was an acolyte, altar boy serving mass in Australia. And this priest, my gosh, he loved his incense because this is how we're going to storm heaven with our prayers. Basically, asphyxiate everybody at the altar with incense. And so we want a glory cloud from the Old Testament. We want the Shekinah
Yeah, the
in here.
pillar.
So it's like,
Yes.
incense one. 2, 3, 4. I want 2 red hot glowing bricks. Whip that thing around. Okay. And then part of the trick of being a thurifer is if you're going to like take the incense and waft it around the
Mhm.
whole church, part of the trick is to keep moving. That way you leave a trail behind you and you're not standing there inhaling it. My problem was we went around the whole church and then it came my just you stand there for the prayers and it's like 15 minutes of just praying. It's like I'm turning into the pillar of cloud and I got to keep this thing going. And I remember just like almost ready
Yeah.
to pass out and the guy looking over, saying, "Hey, I thought, you were like white as a sheet. I thought you were going to fall over and start a fire or something." But man, but okay,
Uh,
so that wasn't exactly a death thing. So,
but that's still great.
yeah, well there you go. No air.
That was like,
Um
I remember off of that, a friend who I won't obviously name for this story, but he was an altar server, and they served like the communion and the wine, and at the end of mass, and I don't know how this came about, but this is the story that there was a bunch of wine left over, and he thought he's like, and again, it's not a Catholic church; it was like a Presbyterian church, so I don't know the actual rituals behind it, but he's like, I knew like we had to get rid of the extra wine. You can't just dump it out. So he drank. He's like, 17 or six, whatever, 16, drank an entire chalice of wine, like just chugged. He
Goodness.
goes,
Wow.
I left. He goes, I swear I was drunk.
Yeah. Oh god, okay, so this reminds me that this might have been a near death experience and I'll have no idea until I die.
Yeah.
So, we used to serve Ukrainian rite Saturday
Hmm.
nights in Australia.
Okay. Yep.
And the priest would use a beautiful, delicious quality of wine. I used to fantasize like when I grow up, I'm gonna buy a bottle of this wine. I'm gonna buy a loaf of this bread. I'm gonna cut it up. I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna have cereal because this
Wine
communion,
cereal. Mm.
because this communion is so good over here, right? Because what I don't know if you've ever been to the Eastern
They
rites, but they usually
they
serve
dip
it in a
it in.
little spoon,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the bread
Yes.
is
Yes. That's
fully
right.
immersed
Yeah.
in wine, and you get both species at once. So, okay, so there's one time it was the end, mass was over, it was Saturday night, and father always kept the bottle of wine behind the altar. Okay, so here's how the church works. If you've never seen an Eastern church, there's a big wall, an iconostasis. It's like a wall of icons, and it was like sort of filigree with vines and stuff. So you could, if you sort of peer through, you could kind of see out the rest of the church. Everybody had gone, and there's the main altar, and then there's a little side altar where the gifts are prepared for the main altar. Now, I mean, I'm a rad trad boy. I don't know what exactly is going through my mind. The lack of reverence, okay,
Wow.
is
Yeah.
catastrophic here. Went up onto the under the altar. I've got an eye line to the Blessed Sacrament reposing inside the oh, now I'm drawing a blank on the word. The golden doors, okay, where it's held in he's held in the altar. And I hunkered down behind the church. I'm like, you're in God's presence, and
Man.
I'm worried about the rest of the church
Yeah.
catching
Uh huh.
seeing me do something. I uncorked that and took a little swig of that. Oh, so good. And then I put it back down.
Wow.
And then I walked out. It's like clueless about being in the Holy of Holies, stealing the altar wine.
the level, the level of that heist.
And then I go outside and my dad's gone. And the family's gone. So it was my dad and like us 5 boys had gone to mass
Yeah.
on Saturday night or something. And they were gone. And he'd gone off down the hill. He thought all the kids were in the back seat. The number of times my parents did this, they left a kid somewhere because there's 8 kids, right? And he's down the bottom of the hill. I got so quickly the distinct feeling of a swat upside the head from
Oh.
above in
Yep.
that moment.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, I'm abandoned. I've been
Yeah.
left behind. And
This is my right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I go back and I sat in the front pew and sniffed really loudly so the priest could hear something. And then he came out and took pity on me and took me over to his home to wait until my family, my dad had come back. He said he got to the gas station at the bottom of the hill, pulled over for gas, suddenly realized I wasn't there, turned around and came back. Um,
Man.
like I say, I don't know how close of a near death experience that was,
No.
but it's like that guy touching the
It's
Ark of the Covenant, and then getting insta
it's
fried.
smite.
I don't know
It's
how that's
smoted.
gonna go down. Once I hit the pearly gates, it's like,
Wow. Yeah, you're like, Dominic, overall, you led a great life, except for this one moment that was very perplexing to us up here.
my gosh. So,
We
yeah.
understand all the struggles of your life. You've done a lot of things, we're trying hard, but this moment was very confusing.
You wonder why things were so hard in your life. Well, look, bucko,
Look
don't
at your
steal
eyes.
the ultra
Yeah.
wine from under God's nose.
Yeah. What are you trying to pull?
What are you
It's
trying
so
to prove?
there's a funny thing. I don't know why this loosely made me think of it. It was this skit that somebody did somewhere. It was like the things that when you go to heaven, like the things that God recounts that weren't actually sins, but just were weird. You just have this whole record of like, these aren't actually sins, but these are weird things that you did. It's like the
You need
list
to
of
stare in
things
the eternal corner for like half an eternity just to get over it.
because those are just weird. They're not sins. You're in. Just those are weird. Gosh, that's funny. Wow. Yeah, there's that like now we get to see more and more of the streak of rebellion that's in you that just rises up in bubbles like who thought this stealing?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we should probably, maybe there's another episode we
Oh,
do on, like, I don't know, theft or something. Just that rebel
just
streak,
spit
you
in
know.
my
My poor parents, like, for all the issues that I have with them, like, they
yeah.
had a hella pack of kids to try to deal with. Okay,
Yeah.
so the one story that always comes to my mind, it's the clearest, that was a moment where I feel like I stared death in the face, was
Mm.
I was in, just gotten married. I was in a cow farm in Tennessee, um, excuse me, staying with grandparents, and there's this one day where it's my wife's grandparents. Now, he's a short little guy, okay? He wears cowboy boots, cowboy hat, big buckle, like, he's a former Navy guy. He did trucks for many years. He's kind of small with a little colostomy bag, and he's like, he knows how to hunt, he knows how to make life work, and he absolutely loves dealing with people. At the time, he didn't know what to make of me. I was this random guy that his granddaughter brought home and got
Yeah.
married to in, like, 3 weeks,
Mhm.
and now they were out of a job with nowhere to stay, and now they're,
Now they're
hitching a
here.
ride off,
Yeah.
his attic, and, of course, what do you mean graphic design is a real job? Like, this kid's a joke, he
Yeah.
sits on his computer all day, you know?
Nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, nerd. So, like, granddaughter, you could have done a hell of a lot better for
Yeah.
yourself. So, he didn't know what to make of me.
Mhm.
So he would need help around the farm a bunch of times. So it'd be like rolling these like 6-foot bales of hay around, or just trying to feed the horses. He had what else did he have? Horses and cows. So feeding cows, trying to feed the horses, and I'm trying to get out all of that as much as possible. Partly because I love farms. I don't want to raise one,
Yeah.
or I don't want to
Yeah.
learn those necessarily, and I'm not being paid to do it. And I'm
No.
trying to find a job. And
Yeah.
my wife had fallen very badly sick, so I needed to like be near her a lot to take care of, provide food and whatever. So this one time he's like, "You're obviously not doing anything with your life. Come down and help me move this cow into the truck. We're going to go sell her and the baby at the local market thing."
Fun.
Okay, great. So we back the trailer into the mouth of the cavern. What's it called? It's not a cave. It's
Into the
the big
mountainside.
red building, the barn. We
Barn.
back the truck against the barn, and the mother and the baby are inside. And so he says, "Grab the calf. Where the calf goes, the mother will follow." It's like, okay. He goes to grab the calf, and that thing just splits off into somewhere else. And so he decides, all right, fine, we'll just get the mom first, get the baby later because she's bigger. You can grab her or something.
Yeah.
And so he manages to bundle her up into the um, back of the trailer, and then he goes and he closes it. Now she can't see anything, and all that's holding her in is like this thin little, you know, it's not meant for an angry cow.
No.
It's meant for a very calm, nice cow that's very
Yeah.
happy with its
Just
life.
a direct. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's got some zip tied boards of wood along the top to kind of make the edges a little taller and block out the sight lines. And so then we start trying to go after the little calf, and it can't see mama anywhere. And all it sees is two weird cow things trying to hunt it
Yeah.
down in the shadows and the hay. And it starts, bleeding or blowing or, making scared baby
Yeah.
calf sounds, right? And at that moment, it's like the mama cow is like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
And I'm
That
like,
triggered.
mama bears and baby bears and don't be in the middle thing. This sounds like a
Huh?
thing, right? And so this cow is like shaking this thing, and I'm like, I've seen this movie, like Jurassic Park. It's the opening scene where the thing is mad inside a cage and it's rocking around. Eh, you know.
That's only in the movies.
It's only in the movies.
Okay.
And she's getting more and more panicking, freaking out about what's happening to her
Mhm.
baby. And so she ends up, we get this thing close to the door and we're about like ready to like pop open the door and shove this thing in. Okay. So my back is almost against the door of the trailer. And I hear this sort of smashing of wood and I look up and there's 1,000 pounds of cow jumping over the top of
Oh
that
my
back door,
gosh.
and it's
Yeah.
coming straight down on me because I'm right near her baby, and I'm
Yeah.
crouching and
You're the
holding
threat, yeah.
I'm the threat. Um, he and I both split for the sidebar fences. We're up on those fences, and she just all she wants is her baby. She grabs the
Yeah.
baby, and they both run back into the back of the barn and literally disappear into the shadows, and I don't even know where they
My
were, and they sort of
gosh.
yeah. That sense of like 1,000 pounds of angry
Yeah.
cow with
It
horn
crushed you. It
and
would have
gristle
crushed
and
you.
hooves. It's like, I've seen this movie. I
Yeah.
know how this
Yeah,
ends.
you would have died for sure.
Um, he was very still for a minute after that, hands on
I bet.
hips. And he's like, "Man, I ain't never seen you move so fast, son." And it's like, "We'll try another day." And so we just left everything there, went in and had
We
coffee and
didn't do
sat
this
down.
all again? Oh.
He never did it again.
Yeah.
He just left the cow there. So,
You just killed him. Yeah.
so
Gosh.
there's that.
Well, yeah, and hey, it didn't involve your eyes. That's impressive.
My eyes. Yeah, there you go.
Meanwhile, 2 sticks poked me in the eye. Yeah, that's incredible. So I've never been around. Well, no, we did a cattle branding weekend in Wyoming. That was fun. I don't know if we talked about this. That was a very fun
I don't think so.
event, and we had to. Yeah, there was we went to a 50,000 acre ranch, and the cowboys herded the cattle, and then we stayed in the pen area. We helped you brand them, castrate them, and vaccinate them all in one day. So it's a very fun day for these calves.
Man, no kidding.
But I
You
remember
take all your equipment down to Cracker Barrel and just mount it back on the
exactly
walls.
that's how you do. Yeah. And this is a video game I'm talking about. No, so we did it, and my job was to rotate the irons, like the hot irons. So they were red hot. You don't want them white hot. You don't want them black. You want them red. And so my job was to rotate them. And I remember I had given one of the cow or my dad. Sorry, I gave my dad a more than red. It was like close to white hot. And he pressed it onto the cow, and because it was so dry and dusty, the whole cow just lit on fire. Like immediately. He's like, "Whoa!" And we're
That's
like,
a
"Oh, pat it out." Yeah, and it's just like a flash fire. Like it wasn't gonna kill it, I don't think, but it just like caught really quick. And
Those
he
things can
was
be dusty.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
what it was. And then so that was one. We patted that down, but then we did another one. I handed my dad a red hot one, and he's holding it there. You're supposed to hold it there for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever. Just kind of you really want to get it in, because you burn through the fur, then you get to the skin, and you scar the skin. And I remember my dad was holding it for so long. A cowboy comes up to him and goes, "You hold it there any longer, that thing's gonna become steak." He's like, "Oh,
Well
sorry,
done.
sorry." So that was that was a quite. And then the only thing that reminded me of what you said is that we had to some of the mama cows or whatever, we had to you lock them in that corral, so you get them get their head caught, and you had to give it a needle. But I mean, they're so big and tough and thick and muscular. I remember one we did it because they allowed us to do it, and if you don't do it quick enough, I put it in and it moved and it bent the whole needle. Like it came out like a shoehorn. So man, I can't imagine facing that like jumping at me, because those things are big. But yeah, no, I don't have any other no big moments come to mind anymore about dying. I have a lot of those minor injuries. But
Well, there
I
you
don't
go.
know,
So
yeah,
before the weekend, you said you were going to start watching fun stuff again.
yeah.
No
So
connection. Let's just segue off, like take a right into a new topic. So, did you watch anything fun?
a cow almost killed me. So how was Netflix? So this is my spoiler alert. We didn't watch much. It was a dud of a weekend. So this is my idea. I wanted to pose it to you and we could ask you for like an app or something. This is what I would love, and maybe they already have this. You make like a profile across all your different apps, so Netflix, Prime,
I
Peacock.
so wish this was a thing.
So
Yeah.
they have like Google Home, like we have, so you can like search something and see it. But this is what I want. you have all your profiles connected. You have all your interests, and like as you watch things, it learns what you like. And so we'll sit down at night, okay, and this is all you do. You click two things. I'm up for a 45-minute episode or an hour. So you put in the time frame you want and the style you want, and then you because you're kind of game with whatever it chooses. But that's the thing that always hurts us is that we spend an hour trying to figure out what to watch. And I'm like, well, I don't want to start a new series. I'm not into starting a movie. So you kind of go back and forth, back and forth. I would love it if I could just click like, I want 45 minutes. So that's gripping, and I'm okay with starting a new show, but just choose it and start it. And it's like, it takes that pressure off. So that was my idea this weekend. Like we didn't watch anything, but it was like, I wish there was something that just gave us something. But the risky part is I'm always like time, aware. I don't know. I was like, I don't want to spend 45 minutes watching a show, start a new one, and then have it be a dud. It's that, but I mean, you got to do sometimes. But
Mhm.
so that's my thing. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
something out there that kind of randomizes and knows based upon what you like. Like, give me something that's good from all the different apps I
Well, I
got.
mean, Google has like anytime you go to search for a like a video, right? It always shows up
Yeah.
on Google and here's where you can watch it and stuff. So that means somebody's messing with those APIs and pulling stuff together. I wish there was something like Goodreads for all the movies.
Hmm.
Closest that's out there is Letterboxd.
Yeah.
My problem
I
is,
just found Letterbox. That's
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
my
What
problem
did
is
you
with
show
that.
me
I
that?
keep trying to go back to that like at least once a year. This year I'm going to try it. And then I start getting into it and realize I don't want to have to manually import all this stuff. I want to
Yeah.
come in and just like instantly be able to like sort,
That's the thing.
loved these. These
Yep.
were meh. I'll never watch these again.
Yeah.
Top of my list, and just have it automatically pull in my watch
And
history.
that's the downfall because these apps you're watching on one side, but then you have to input information on another. Like the split is always the divide that, that's what I was thinking with Letterbox. I saw that.
Yeah, yeah. So I tried. What did I try watching? I tried watching a Spanish film on Netflix called Eternauts or the Eternauts or something, and
Okay.
it's like somebody at these film studios is going, "Hey, what if making noise could kill you? Let's do that as a movie." Somebody else goes, "Hey, what if looking at something could kill you? Let's make that a movie." And then somebody else
Yeah,
goes,
all
"Hey,
the
what if the
senses.
snow could kill you?" And Canadians are like, "What? Like, how
It's
is
not
that any?
possible.
Like, that's just last year."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, what if aliens are doing something with snow?" And so I started watching that. It was kind of okay. Um, um,
So that
yeah, it
one
had
was Aliens in Snow, that last one.
aliens. I mean, everything's aliens and
Yeah.
aliens and whatever.
Yeah. And
So it was kind of cool, but it's just for me, it's what I keep struggling with. Like, I can't pick anything and decide to watch it. I can't really get into
forget
reading
it.
anything.
Yeah.
There's a block for me to intake new
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So
Yeah.
you know, there's no room for anything. Okay, I'm gonna grab a Brandon Sanderson. Why not?
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
tried grabbing a sci-fi series I've never read and started trying to read that. And I don't know if I'll finish it, but as good as it is.
I
But
know
I've
what you mean
got
though.
it's something you actually said this past week where you and I were talking about Legend Haven, which is a project that we're building together and thinking about. And you said something like, "Well, what if you were to literally sit down and just write out the stories for this world to start helping people get a sense of what it is?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And
The
then over the
shared
weekend, I'm
universe.
like, "Dang it, I don't want to go and create an entirely new cosmos and start
Yeah.
writing all of these things. Would I like to? Yes. Would it be fun? Yes. Would it be helpful for everything I'm trying to do? Yes. Would I make money? No. Should I
That's
do
beside
it?
the point. Yeah.
Probably."
Yeah.
And
But maybe
over the weekend, like 4 different stories, like all came to mind.
oh, okay.
And I would try to craft them as like standalone sort of short stories, maybe create my own little anthology for this world that's now being
Yeah.
created. Yeah.
Well, maybe just like maybe then it's more of a better or easier approach to like reverse engineer it instead of trying to create the world and make stories to match it. Start with a story that already grips you, like either that you wrote or a person in the community, and they're like, "This is really good." And then the next book, like, "Okay, well, this is the start of the world already," and then
Yeah.
build like you kind of start building the
Well, how do you,
canon around it.
so this is a question a couple of people have asked me, and it's always kind of fun because I only know the way that I create, and it's interesting to see how other people create. What do you start with? Like, here's a cool idea, or here's a cool character, or here's a cool event, or like,
Mm.
what are your starting points when you have a story?
Mine was a scene that I had thought of, and it's like this would be really cool. This chase scene. This is what I had originally for Morocco, especially. I was like this one scene, and then I kind of built off of that. The funny thing is, the scene I originally started with changed by the end, but yeah, it was this energy and emotion I wanted to convey through this scene, and then I was like, okay, well, what would get him to that scene? And then I worked backward, and then after, I'm like, what would happen after that scene's complete? So it really, I don't know how, that's for this one. Started with the scene, and then I had the main character who was in that scene, and then I think, okay, who would he interact with to get to that point? And then I made the whole outline, but I didn't. I wish I started with the world. I feel like that would have been better because then I had to go back and make sure the world. Well, I just made the world fit the scene. It just kept. I used that as like a cross reference point for everything I built. Was that one scene idea? But how do you do it?
Yeah, it's a good question. It just depends. A lot of it depends. I
Or recently,
rarely
how?
find
Yeah.
it starts with a character. There's some people where everything starts with a character for them, and then they build the world to feel test and spend
Mm-hmm.
time with the character. Um, for me, it usually starts like, here's a really cool idea. What kind of a world would allow me to explore that idea? And then what kind of a character can I stress test by having
Yeah.
them story path their way towards that idea?
Yeah.
And then what's funny is invariably what I end up finding is like, here's the cool idea that inspires the whole thing. And then I have to do what I just that process and then get it down to an actual character. And then I've got to understand the motivation of the character and start telling their story. And then two things happen. One, I'm usually trying to write against the ending. So
Mm,
whatever I think the ending is, I'm trying to not make that happen by make the character do everything
yeah.
else so that it doesn't feel like we just
It's this
walked into
straight linear
Mordor.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, in doing that sort of part of the process, um, I usually find the character and their motivation and their personality and what they want out of the story all of a sudden becomes its own thing. And now I'm now having to like I'm trying to not create a balancing act. Like I created this thing and I wanted to end up here, and the character's like, the actual reason you picked me as a character is because I'm dealing with abandonment issues with my parents or something. It's like, excuse me, I didn't put that in the cards.
Yeah.
But yes, you
Just
did.
showed
You
up.
killed off both my
Uh,
parents in
yeah.
scene one, or like whatever it was.
What did you
Um,
expect?
yeah. And so the actual point of this whole story is
Mhm.
a coming of age story. Like, no, I wanted you to be somebody who's like
Yeah.
nice but kick ass enough to carry the storyline so that I could explore this idea. It's like,
Uh-huh.
no, I'm trying to become a grown up.
No, you're not. You
Fine,
listen to
let's
me. Yeah,
let's see
exactly.
where that story goes. And then invariably, the original idea that started with just sort of stays floating out there. And now I'm
Uh-huh.
like, okay, this actually holds together. This is actually kind of a
Which
cool thing.
which makes this odd. We've talked to us at maybe either on this show or just in private conversation, this idea that like, as an author, like the story is here and you're just trying to figure out how to reach it. It's like it's its own thing. And like, it's like when the character writes the story themselves or the story writes themselves, like these concepts are so odd. But then here's a good case in point. So I originally thought about this scene and this guy and this whole thing happening. And I wrote it, and then I was like halfway through, I stopped. I'm like, you know what? I had originally had it set in Aztec, um, in an Aztec setting. And I said, I'm going to change it. I don't want it to be anywhere of this world. I want it to be mythical. So I did that. And then I stopped. I'm like, you know what? Actually, I like the old Scandinavian vibe. So I did a ton of research on Scandinavia and the fjords and like I made it all and I mapped it onto an actual time period. So I made it historical nonfiction. Made it so there's this battle that happened in the 1400s and mapped it right on no sorry not the 1400s 400s and I mapped it onto this actual it was this the aftermath of this actual battle and did the whole thing. And then every time I changed, I was like, it wasn't clicking. I was like, these characters, and I made the guy's name different, and I made him, have a whole different. Like, it kept going back to this original mythical place. And it's funny how, like, well, it's your story, just make it wherever you want. But for some reason, that theme that was trying to pull through was only making sense in this one setting that was outside of our time. I don't know, like so like when you think I was trying to think of like for your stories, like when you think of like setting and time period and placement, do you incorporate that? Because like let's say like because you can write a book and it could be in, Dominic land. It could be in made a place, or it could be in 15th century Europe. Like for you, how does that like setting and time, place, and area come into play? I know you kind of touch up, but like how do you decide that? Is it after a while, or do you know right away? Does that matter to you? Do you think it affects the story having it take place in real time versus not real time? How do you use that?
That's a good question. I remember a piece of writing advice, because I used to read a ton of it to avoid writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I would say something like your location, your setting needs to be inextricable to your plot. It has to be part of it, such
Yeah.
that if you take the story and you try putting it in a different time,
Okay.
you
I like
would not
that.
be able to tell that same story. They've got to be so connected. Now, I can't even remember if that's even actually necessarily good advice. I liked it at the
Mm,
time, and I
yeah.
still think it's pretty good advice because it then means all of the decisions of the story emerge out of the possibilities limited to that time. Um, and so I like the constraint of that. Now, I think for me, I don't usually write historical fiction, largely because I'm just too lazy to really do too much research. I like to do just enough.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of like
Just get a flavor.
semi-historical stuff that I want to write. No,
Yeah.
but I'll usually put it in like a fantasy world, which means you know
You can make your own
some.
rules.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point at which you can do that. And then there's a a different point where it's like you've made things maybe harder for yourself because when you
Mhm.
set stuff in the real world, you people bring their own bags of associations,
Yeah.
and so you can
Which is
actually,
good or bad.
yes, you can skip having to provide a
True.
ton of research because everybody sort of
True.
knows, oh, this time period was like this.
Yeah.
In a fantasy world where you're starting from a blank slate, you now have to create all of those
Yeah.
associations. You have to do all the
Very
legwork,
true.
and you have to do it without info dumping. So it's got to be elegant,
Yep.
and that's yeah, kind of
That's so
impossible.
funny. That's
So
interesting. I was thinking about that because and so sorry, do you want to finish your
yeah,
thought?
just I mostly set my stories in I'm more interested in sci-fi and fantasy just as genres. And if it is in the real world, then it's like a Narnian thing. It's like we're trying to get out of it as quickly as possible, or it's erupting into this world and sort of
Yeah.
changing everything. And so the focus is not on, the realism. As much as I love Cold War sort of thriller movies and political
Mhm.
stuff like that. And um I'm not interested in writing a lot of those.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think that's I was also trying to toy with the idea of so I want it to be this made up landscape, but I like the idea of you ever see like the movie Elf or even like Piggy and Gerald books. Like I'm talking about stories that like there's no real setting. It's just these characters interacting with each other, and that's like Elf when he designed like I was watching the documentary of like when he designed like the North Pole, he wanted to be this kind of blank canvas that the characters really shine, and the background is just very simple set design essentially. And even like plays or musicals like on stage like very simple because you like the characters. So I was like that was what I thought. Again, I don't think of too was it too big for my britches or whatever. I was trying to do that sense where like give the baseline of context, give the setting, give some meat, but let the real story happen between these characters, almost as if because if it was to translate to like a play, that's why some like really high fantasy stories this is a hot take from Gabe. I don't think would translate well on stage sometimes when the setting is so epic and grandiose that it's hard to build it out and convey the same message. Again, that's from a uneducated
Well, that's why
perspective,
books
but
or people always have to quote adapt it for screen
correct.
because you
Yeah.
have to take everything like out of somebody's head
Yep.
and out of the implications and out of
Yeah.
the narration, and you have to
Hmm.
like turn everything almost into dialogue.
That's something I would love to do because I like we've talked about this before, but on like one setting places. So like I love 12 Angry Men and I love there was Agatha Christie's Black Coffee. It's just, the whole book takes place in a room with locked doors,
Hmm.
trying to figure out where the murder happened. I was like, so I would love to try and push myself at some point to do that, but I think that's really dialogue. You have to be really good at dialogue, and I don't think that's like I don't ace that area. I think I do well enough, but we talked about this before. Do we say this before? What do you find is your natural strong suit in writing? Is it setting? Is it descriptive narrative? Is it action scenes? Is it dialogue? I don't know. Do you have one that you?
I don't actually know. I think that I remember once getting praise from my teacher that I was good with dialogue.
Oh, good.
And so
Wow, that's awesome.
I've tried to focus on that. I don't know that I'm very good with action. Because I mean, that's where I spent all of my time as a teen, always writing action scenes. Everything was action. Now I'm not actually interested in that anymore. I'm far more of interested in stories of discovery.
Yeah.
Stories of like, here's what you think is normal, and then this different thing happens, and now we're all just exploring it. Now I'm realizing, oh, here's my new problem is proactive protagonists
Yeah.
because I want to take these characters and put them in these weird, wonderful world situations and then spend 10 chapters and suddenly realize, oh, wait, they didn't do anything. They saw a ton of really cool stuff, but that's
Yeah.
not enough for an actual story. They have to
Yeah.
actually drive this thing.
Yeah.
And so that's well, okay, so I didn't answer your question. That's a challenge that I now have is getting them to be protagonists because all I want to do is
Yeah.
like admire this world that I'm building through their eyes.
That's what I that's I it's so funny, and this is my hot take on, high fantasy big novels. I love big extensive worlds like Dune, one of my favorite series, but even Dune. So like my favorite books, Dune, Lord of the Rings, Narnia, Harry Potter, all these big worlds. But the one thing that I struggle with like a Lord of the Rings or Dune, which again, high praise, 10 out of 10. It's so for me, the pacing, I always struggled reading the books because I'm like, the pacing is so slow because there's so much building. And I like that because obviously there's such big payoffs at the end, but I liked it when books were quicker. Like they moved quicker, they flowed, and like you get a sense of the world and you kind of keep moving. And the characters, there's always every chapter had like a what's gonna happen and then a payoff, but it leads into the next one. So I don't know. I find that was, I think, a hard struggle to have both build epic worlds, but keep the story moving and going and moving and grooving. And
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know. It's so weird because I get like I feel like my hot take would be some like Dune could be boring, but my other hot take is it was absolutely fantastic. So like I don't know how to I sit between those two thoughts of like Dune being or something like Dune being a little too wordy. I remember feeling that was the first time I felt like, do you ever read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
Well, a long time
A
ago.
long time
Yeah.
ago. If you're ever reading it, there's so many scenes where like there's just lists of things in the world because he just lists everything that the person sees. I even forget the main character's name. But I remember just reading, like I would skip, like okay, sea urchin and gold coral and flowery leaves, and it's like, you're just a paragraph of descriptors. You're like, okay, he sees underwater.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No opening
Um,
thought after that. That was just a, a
no, no,
comment.
it's cool. I'm just trying to think. Oh, the latest novel that I wrote, which is almost done. It's in a holding pattern for right now.
Ooh.
But I gave myself some very specific parameters, which I think have served me really well, and I've really liked them. They've continued on with the other stories that I've gone on to write now, which is one, uh, I want to write this scene as if it was a movie. So
Yeah.
that, for example, it could be translated into a movie very
Mm-hmm.
easily. Um, but what that sort of does is it allows everything to be perceived through the point of view of the character, main character. So I can't give any information that they would not have seen or
Mm-hmm.
sensed
Yeah.
or understood. And the advantage to that is that they can misunderstand things so that I can give them new information that changes what they know later. So that has allowed me to be like with every single scene, very in tune with what the character's thinking and feeling and sensing and paying attention to and their response to everything. So it's a way to like try to really stay in their head and not say anything as the omniscient narrator, not say anything that they would not have learned or that somebody wouldn't have told them.
Mm.
So I liked the constraints of that because it means there's no world building. There's no info dumping. There's just pure observation happening constantly.
Yeah,
And
that's
you're
true.
constantly trying to understand what you think you're seeing. And
Mm-hmm.
you're spinning up theories all the time, which is how we kind of operate in real life all the time anyway. And I found it's been really fascinating because it means I can now drop a character in a horrible world that she's trying to make sense of and then her theories about what is happening and then other people's theories about what's going on and we're all trying to make sense of it and by the end hopefully you're kind of like I don't know where I am but this is crazy and they're starting to be able to hold the line and stay alive but there are no answers and you've spent
Yeah.
120,000 words and there's still no answers and it's like this is actually I hope I landed this plane because if
Yeah.
I did that's really cool
Yeah.
but that's how a lot of us sometimes feel also about
Mm.
real life like I think the story that maybe you read. It was in almost every anthology that we have. I've got at least one short story in there. And I've tried to follow the same sort of process. Stay in the head, no world building outside of what a character knows.
Yeah.
Because it then avoids things like, what is that other series? The guy who ripped off Lord of the Rings while he was in college. He went on to do it really well. It was not Wheel of Time. The guy Alanon was a wizard in it. Uh, oh my goodness, I can't remember. Anyhow, I just remember reading the first chapter of it. The first two chapters, it has diehard fans out there, and I remember the world building in, I think, chapter one or chapter two. There was pages and pages of, as you know, here's the world and blah blah blah. It's like, if I know
Yeah.
this, why am I, And
As
then
you already know.
5 pages of like backstory
Yeah.
leading up to. They're all sitting around a campfire, not eating or
Yeah.
drinking anything, just like staring at this wizard.
Yep.
They
It's
turned it into a 2-season series too. God, what was it
oh.
called? I didn't like it very much.
Well, that's what I mean.
Anyway,
Like when you go through like 10, 15 pages and no actual time has passed in the story, you're like, okay. You're like you're having such, deep. That's what I was trying. Was it somebody that, oh gosh. You almost like have it read as long as it would take in real time. So like as the scene plays out, like as you're reading it, it would take that much time. I'm kind of butchering thoughts, but
well, I haven't heard of that one. It's an interesting
well,
idea.
the thought was that like that's what kind of I thought of it sometimes. Like when I'm writing it out, as if you were to read it out loud, the length it would take you to read it out loud, that's as long as it would take in the time the story is happening. So if I say he ran across the room and touched the door, that took like 1.2 seconds. That's how long it took him to run across the room and touch the door. Um, I don't know. So I thought every once in a while I kind of touched that, thought and pecked up the pace to not be so descriptive. Because if I gave a whole page of description and all I did was walk across a room, it slowed. I don't know. For me, I think it slowed things down.
I remembered it was called the Shannara Chronicles.
Shannara Chronicles.
Chronicles of Shannara or something sort of Shannara. It's like a bunch of different books.
The Shania Twain Chronicles.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
Oh, the Shannara Chronicles. We started that. Did not finish. We watched one episode.
Yeah. So that's one where there's like
no reason why. I just
ton of world building.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I told my wife she was wrong at one point. Dumb ways to die. No, we'll trim all of this.
R.I.P. Dominic D'Souza. I was gonna say that we could leave off with just so fun. I saw this weird thing I want to try. I was gonna see if you want to try something weird, not with me, but it's. Do you ever hear it was like a Japanese? I don't know what the Japanese name for it is. It's like dirt polishing. You make like a mud ball and you polish. It's like you polish it and it becomes like shiny.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going. Dig deeper.
When I vocalize things out loud, it sounds much better in my head. And then I say it out loud, it's like, what the heck? Yeah, it's this practice. It's like the idea of like that. I think this is what the YouTube video said. This is from a YouTube video saying like it's a practice, a Japanese practice of like, everything in Earth is beautiful. Even the dirt of the Earth is beautiful if taken care of. Yada, yada, yada. That's the whole, the mantra behind, or that's how flowery the video was. Anyways, you basically just take dirt, filter it all the big granules so it's very fine, make like a mud ball, you let it sit for a bit, dry out, and then just this process of like smoothing it and making it polished, and it becomes like glass surface.
Wow.
I was like, oh, there's so many random things in this world that like I didn't even know that was
I've never heard
thing.
of that.
Neither have I until I saw it. I was like, I gotta polish some mud outside.
There you go. Maybe next week you'll have some nice polished mud to share with us.
Like, here's some polished mud balls.
That's what I've been doing with my life. I'm living my best life. Polishing mud.
Polishing mud.
There you go. There's the title of our video.
Oh.
Closest I've seen is when people do that with like foil, and you grab foil
yes,
and you mash
I've
together.
seen that. Yeah. I think it was like related videos because they see all the things I'm watching and like you probably would like mud ball.
What are you watching that leads to mud balls? Okay, I mean you are the Wikipedia hopper. So
yeah, they're like knowing you'd like polished mud. Like, thank you.
There you go, friends. We'll wrap on that. If you have any other recommendations for us to talk about that relates to polished mud or near-death experiences, go ahead and say hi in the comments, and we'll just laugh our way through it. I like this line. Like you said, we talk about, what is it? We have fun talking about serious things and not taking ourselves seriously.
Correct. Yeah. That's the best phrase.